All right.
Hello and welcome to 501c3 Go's Getting to Know You. 501c3 Go, for nearly 40 years, we have been changing the world one nonprofit at a time. 501c3 Go prepares the legal structure for your dream and vision to change the world. We honor your service to mankind, whatever that happens to be. Getting to know you allows you to know our clients, who are wonderful people doing wonderful things to change the world for the better. On this evening's Getting to Know You program, we are pleased to present the president and a director of Carmel Cares, Dale Byrne. Carmel Cares is a group of Carmelites dedicated to keeping Carmel by the Sea a beautiful, safe, and inviting place through volunteer maintenance and improvement projects and branded community engagement programs. Good evening, Dale, and welcome to Getting to Know You.
Good evening, David. It's great to be here.
So let me ask you, I'm sure our viewers would like to know of your background.
My background. Well, I've always loved to work. From a young age, I've always been kept busy. My mother and my grandmother always encouraged me to do whatever I thought was fun, and I did all kinds of interesting things. When I was 15, my first job was tending hundreds of rose bushes for a woman they called the Rose Queen of Monterey Park. And then I worked at an ice cream store. I ended up sort of taking the ice cream store over. I changed the menu. I got picnic tables outside. I hired my two sisters and my mother. And then one day the owner realized that I had done a friendly takeover of his business, and he fired all of us. So I went to work at Alpha Beta Supermarkets, and I worked there for 8 years. I ended up getting a food marketing management scholarship. I went to USC for about 8 years, got my master's degree in business. And then I got in the computer business, and eventually I parlayed that into starting a software company with two of my college professors from USC. And that was successful. It was sold a couple of years later. And then in 1990, I started my own company. We did retail shelf space management software, helping big retailers and food suppliers figuring out what products to carry and where to put them on the shelf.
Wow.
And that company was sold in 97. They gave me a division that I had just acquired, and I ended up running that for 10 years and sold that in 2009 and retired. But of course, I never really could retire. So we started building houses in Carmel, California, just sort of art projects. It's a very artsy community. And we started working with artisans. You know, we had a wood guy, a steel guy, a general contractor, a paint contractor. And we ended up building 5 beautiful homes. We ended up living in all of them but the last one. So we got to know the city. We got to know all the planning situations. I got to know a lot of people in town. And one of the houses we lived in we lived on a busy street. It's the main thoroughfare. Of course, there aren't any really big streets in town. We don't have any traffic signals. But we thought people were speeding. So I bought a little radar device, handheld, and started doing traffic studies for the council. Not at their request, but I educated them about what was happening. And everybody said, well, there's nothing you can do about it. So my wife and I went out to lunch every day. We called it Carmel cruising. We used to go on cruises, long ones. And eventually we started seeing that cruise ships were coming here. And so I said, why are we going on cruises when people come here? Why don't we just budget enough money to go out to lunch every day and live like we're on a cruise ship? And that's what we did. And we got to know the restaurants, and they gave us an idea of putting messages in the bill presenters. I don't have one here, but you know, when you pay your bill, there's a little booklet they give you. And so we started putting laminated messages in there that talked about traffic calming and stopping at stop signs. And we ended up with 20 restaurants in town. Thousands of people a day got to see our messages for free. And then when that went on for a couple of years, but we weren't a volunteer organization. We were just virtual, we talk at city council meetings, just telling people our messages. So when COVID hit last year, I noticed that all the weeds were growing, beautiful places. You know, we're one of the most beautiful places in the world. And and one day I was driving into town, I saw the weeds were like 2-3 feet high. I went around town, I made a little movie that showed what the place looked like. The city had just cut their budget from 23 million to 18 million. They had laid off 5 people out of the 18-person staff, I believe 18, in the public works department. They cut their budget to 0, fired their landscaping companies. And with my video in hand, I made a pitch to the public works leadership and said, I want to take Carmel Cares and turn it into a volunteer organization dedicated to keeping Carmel beautiful, safe, and inviting. And they said, okay. And that's how it all started. So you want me to continue on, or you want to ask some questions?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, continue on. This is great.
All right. So we started pulling weeds, basically. I live about a block from the ocean here, and Scenic Pathway is by some measures one of the most beautiful walks in the world. And over the last 15 years, maybe, the plants had all grown up. It was built in '85 when Clint Eastwood was mayor. And the plants, some of them had grown for the entire time since then. And what the original vision was that the pathway would have an unobstructed view of the ocean from the south to the north while you're walking on it. And what had happened is the plants had grown up to the point where probably 30% of the time you didn't even see the ocean. For the last 10 years, probably, it hadn't been really looked after properly. There were weeds, foxtails. The irrigation system had broken probably 7 years ago, and they didn't replace it, so there were dead plants everywhere. So we figured we'll start by pulling all the weeds so that our dogs didn't get foxtails when we went for walks. Another former neighbor of mine, had started paying his landscape company to just weed whack them. But that doesn't really solve the problem. So we started pulling weeds. The local newspaper saw what we were doing, the Carmel Pine Cone, which if you have never read it, you should carmelpinecone.com and read it. It's really a fantastic publication and very popular. So they put an article in, and a lady that lives right up the street from me, 3 blocks away, named Shirley Moon, called me up and said, you know, Dale, you don't know me, but back 35 years ago or so, I tried to do the same thing that you're doing up on Carpenter Street, which is inland. And I did it for a couple of years and had some success, but then I got frustrated. But I'm really good at pulling weeds, and you're going to be very impressed. So I said, show up on Thursday, particular place on Scenic, and we'll pull some weeds together. After 2 hours of pulling weeds with Shirley, I said, how would you like to be my project manager for Scenic Pathway? She said, I'm in. And ever since, that was last July, ever since, every single week since then, she's had anywhere from 5 to 10 volunteers and 3 professional gardeners pulling weeds, taking dead plants. We've taken over 40 landscape trailers of dead plants out. And we went all the way from 8th Avenue down to Martin Way, which is the length of the pathway, and completely cleaned it up, widened the pathway, got rid of the sand. And anyway, it's probably the most pristine and cleanest place in town now. It's not perfect because now we're on phase 2 of replacing some border fences and so on. But in terms of it being clean and perfect and a beautiful view, it's an incredible accomplishment. The city would have probably spent $500,000 to do that job. So I'm very proud of that. And that's really how we started. But we were just a virtual volunteer organization, no corporate structure, nothing. And that's when I found you guys.
How did you find us, Dale?
That's a good question. I probably Googled how to become a 501c3 and found a number of options, which one was to do it myself. I have never had a volunteer organization in my life. I have volunteered for churches and so on, but not even that much. I've always been busy with my businesses, traveling. I have 6 million travel miles, flying miles. So I was gone a lot, but I just, at some point last October, probably September, I finally said, this is getting too big. You know, we had 20, 30 volunteers and we were getting donations from people on the street. And I just didn't feel good about taking checks. And, you know, it was mostly going through Shirley. She was an incredible fundraiser. And I said, this is not the right way to do it. We really need to incorporate. So I looked at all the options, and I don't know what it was, but something about your organization seemed really honest You know, you weren't the cheapest option for sure. And there were some people that questioned, that seems like a lot of money. And I said, you know what? I talked to David and he said he's never failed except for this one guy that wanted to put something on the moon. And
We didn't fail with that one either.
yeah, but that was the toughest one you said you ever had.
Yeah, that was the toughest one.
And I said, if he can do that, and I just felt really comfortable that you guys were really honest businessmen. And I appreciate businesses that charge a fair price for what they do, because they will deliver results as opposed to promising and not delivering and giving you a good price. So I signed the contract, never looked back, and got started. And like with anything, since you hadn't done it before, there were always things that seemed a little confusing, a little challenging. And you just have to work through it and get over that hump. Because once you get over it, you go, that was easy. But you know what? Your people would always, you didn't say like, we're going to give you unlimited amounts of time. But you said, we will answer your questions. And if you pay attention and you put the time in that we're asking you to, we will get through this together. And I did. And I turned it in and everything went exactly the way you said. We got our California corporation set up. And 30 days later, we started the 501c3 process. And again, there were some things like, wow, that seems so complicated, but your people talked me through it. We answered the questions. It probably took a couple times back and forth, which is pretty reasonable. We turned it in and then we just prayed that it would happen. Because it is a little bit of a leap of faith, because in the meantime, we're getting donations from people. And we were told by you and others, accountants, as long as you've submitted your application, all the donations that you get from that point forward are going to be tax deductible, but you just pray that you're going to get the 501c3 at some point, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think most of our clients go through that wondering, what if I'm the first one that doesn't make it and I've got these donations to worry about?
Yeah.
But apparently there weren't any real big roadblocks in our process that bothered you so much that you remember them.
Well, I wrote you a couple short notes saying, David, are you really sure this is going to happen? And you assured me that it would. You're not the first one, Dale. I've done this thousands of times. Trust me. And I but I'd still wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, because this is a big deal for all of us that do this.
Sure,
And there are people giving us $5,000 donations, and we weren't promising anything, but they assumed that we knew what we were doing. Yes. And after about 3 months after your last assurance that this was going to happen, I don't know how this happened, but I was Googling like getting 501c3, how long should it take, that sort of thing. And I saw this expedite process. And I said, And so I read it and it said, send a letter that just shows how passionate you are and why it's important that you get this sooner than later. And we had grants that people wanted to give us, but they would not give it to us until we were an official 501c3. And so that's what really triggered that. And so I wrote a letter and I sent you a copy, I believe. And it wasn't hard to do. I'm sure if you do a bad job of it, it could probably hurt you, because they'd say these people aren't what the 501c3 Go people said they were. So I'm not recommending this, but I did it. And 30 days after I sent the letter, we got our 501c3. And the whole thing was 4 months, which I think by most measures is pretty good.
It is.
But that also speaks for your application, because there wasn't one thing in the application that they ever questioned. So I guess what I'm saying is the letter may have helped, but it was even better help that you guys did a really thorough job together with me. And not one thing ever was questioned.
Yeah, well, the IRS knows what they're doing, and they're very precise, and it's got to be done the right way, or it won't work. So I'm really glad that we could do that for you, Dale. I mean, that means a lot to me, and I've only been doing this for like 40 years. So I mean, when I hear people like you talk about our service, it really does make me feel good. Mm-hmm. It really does. Well, Dale, what are your biggest challenges now?
Well, that's a good question. the one thing about, since I've never done this before, I didn't really know what to expect. And obviously, attracting volunteers when you start your company right in the middle of COVID wasn't the easiest thing, because we don't want to, you know, put ads in the paper, say, look at us, we're out here doing work, because we worked a lot during COVID. And, you know, the city, we wore masks, we did all the, we social distance. Nobody ever got sick. Not one of our volunteers got sick the entire time, not any kind of sickness, actually. And we were out doing significant amounts of work. The city stopped us from working a couple times for 2 weeks, maybe. But every single week since we started, we have had a 30 to 45 minute status meeting with our public works department leadership team, which usually is 5 people, every Friday at 10:30 for 50 weeks. And every week we do Google Slides, anywhere from 15 to 25 and 30 Google Slides, where we show them this is what we did last week with pictures. It's very thorough. And this is what we're going to do next week. So we over communicate with our partners at Public Works, because we weren't approved by the city council. We weren't approved by the Forest and Beach Commission. We presented to them what we were doing after we got started, but we're not an official city support group yet. We're about to be. So we basically have just partnered with the Public Works Department, and we're working hand in hand with them all the time. Clearly they're a union public employee kind of situation. So we always have to be aware that we're doing work that maybe they would have done. And, you know, that communication is very important. We're on the ground working with them. It's been an interesting process to develop personal relationship with those people, so they trust us, so that the department knows we would never do anything that would cause them an issue or problem, that we're highly trained. They don't have to come and look over our shoulders, which is pretty amazing, since we're working on world-class assets that are priceless. So we're really proud that we have developed that relationship, and that took a lot of time and effort. But it wasn't without pain, because the public is involved too. So there's always somebody out there that will question anything. And that hasn't happened very much, but over a period of a year, sometimes it feels like every week you're getting hit on the side of the head with a 2x4 because something pops up that you didn't expect. And one thing I've learned is to respect anybody that's doing something like we're doing, no matter what it is you're trying to solve, because there's always something that pops up that doesn't feel very good when it happens. You know, at that moment in time, you tend to say, why am I doing this? Because I could be retired. I don't need to do this, really. And our friends sometimes say that. And we just look at them, Shirley, me, Janice, and some others of us, we just look them in the eye and we said, yes, we do have to do this. You know, because somebody has to do it, because the city's budgets were cut. They fired their landscaping company. They didn't have any landscaping tools. No knock on them. They didn't see this coming, right? And so we working with our partner, Carmel Gives, that I also partner with, they're a part of the community foundations. So they gain their 501c3 status by being part of a foundation. And so they've raised a lot of money, and I've worked with them, and then they can grant money to us. And they can buy things for the city that they don't have, plus helping a lot of people. We fed a lot of people and so on. So we have actually acquired equipment for the city so they can be more efficient at their jobs, because we need them, because they're doing things we can't do. And so that's been an interesting process. And we have developed a really good working relationship with them, where they trust us. They ask us now to present to the council, to the Forest and Beach Commission. The Forest and Beach Commission loves what we're doing. And any of these people could stop us anytime they want. But because we've been thorough and professional in everything we've done, I don't think they would ever think of doing that. Plus, we now have like 50 volunteers. Soon we're going to have the equivalent of 300 volunteers if you include all of our programs. We're putting a volunteer management system in place. We have a professional donor management software system in place. We have an online accounting system called Xero, Xero, that we've put in place. So we've started a corporation, and I'm treating it like my software company from a lot of different angles, the underpinnings of software and the support systems, the way that we're recruiting. We're starting to do lots of Facebook, Instagram, videos. We're posting 3-4 times a week. I didn't do it during COVID because I didn't want to have people say, hey, these people shouldn't be doing this. Let's stop them. COVID's out there, you know, and we never had one person say anything. So that was a successful strategy. But now we're putting ads in the Carmel Pinecone every other week. And they're simple branding things. Our brand is really well known around Carmel. Carmel Cares is talked about a lot. Right now, we're doing a lot. Our showcase is Scenic Pathway, and that's just every Wednesday, 10 volunteers, 3 professional gardeners. Shirley runs it like a military operation. We start at one end, we get done to the other end every single week. And that will go on forever for the rest of our lives. And that's why we're fundraising to make sure we have the money to keep that going. We also have redone Forest Theater, which is the largest outdoor theater, you know, homegrown kind of outdoor theater. You know, it's still the way it was in 1910. But it's a big deal in town. And we've redone that, done lots of improvements. I was there today with 35 youth center, 10 to 12-year-olds, cleaning up the grounds, getting ready for Shrek, which is opening a week from Friday. I had them cleaning the railings. I had them watering. We have 40 trees we have to water there for the Friends of Carmel Forest. We had them measuring the water things and the things. So we had kids running all over. And we do something with the kids every other week. We did beach cleanups 2 weeks ago. We created a whole new garden area above the police department. It's just unbelievable. And we're redoing the main downtown, sort of the town square park, little by little, so people don't say, what are these guys doing? We work hand in hand with Public Works. We just created a new garden area. We're getting it ready for Car Week, which we have a big Car Week event, the Concours event, and they use the park. So we're buying 50 cubic yards of natural wood mulch that's going to be delivered next week. And our volunteers are going to work with them to spread it all over town, and the Ocean Avenue medians getting ready for the event. And it's a big deal. And the city would have never done this on their own. We're doing things we've created a whole new way of getting things done, working with the city. And we're very proud of their people and how we're working together. And, you know, we're creating basically a seamless way for things to happen. If we want to do something, we tell them we want to do this, and we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, but we can't do that. And we do all the rest, and we pay for a lot of things. We raise money to do things that normally just couldn't be done because the budgets are still pretty tight. So the most challenging thing is just getting hit across the side of the head with just unforeseen things that aren't big deals, but you know, you always want things to be perfect. I do.
Sure.
And you know, maybe one of our volunteers says something at a city council meeting, like, you know, public employees are lazy or whatever, you know, because, you know, people tell you that every day, right? And I just say, no, they're not. You just don't understand how complicated the city is. And it is difficult, and they're pulled many different directions. And that's why we're here. We're here to pick up the things that they can't do. But when that happens, it goes to the mayor, it goes, you know, and then it gets back to us like Carmel Cares. And, you know, we have to sit down and talk with the volunteer, like, this isn't good. You can't do this. You know, these people are our partners. And our job is to help them do their job more effectively, but, you know, they don't have the money. And that's part of being the leader. Part of my job is to handle those situations. And my many years of experience running a software company with 250 employees in 12 countries uniquely prepared me for doing this, along with all the crazy things I did as a kid. You know, I love to go out and clean gutters. I love to clean. We're cleaning sidewalks all over town because the city doesn't have a budget for it. And there's a lot of dogs in town. It's, you know, you need to do it. And so I found a guy, we got his van hooked up with the equipment to suck the water up because it can't go in the gutter. And now businesses are hiring him by making donations to us to clean the town. And it's been interesting, but we're doing it. In the meantime, while he's doing that, we clean all the gutters and make it look perfect. And which dovetails into the latest thing that we're doing, and it's Keep America Beautiful. I'm sure you've heard of that. And we have a pickup posse that goes, we give people blue buckets that look like this. Here's a whole stack of them, okay? And I put our branding on it. I don't have one here, but I make signs for them so it says Carmel Cares. And we have probably 20 people walk around town with a claw, our t-shirts on. I don't have it on, but a t-shirt and
Cool.
the bucket, and they pick up trash. It's called the pickup posse. And
Wow.
so we're trying to make the city litter free. But I learned at this point, and so has Shirley, who works, and Janice, who work with me on that program, that we're not going to be able to do it on our own with our homegrown thing. It's a big deal, even in a 1 square mile town that we are. To make it
Mhm.
truly litter free, if you really want to do it, it takes a lot. And so we became a Keep America Beautiful affiliate. Normally a city would do it, but our city guys are so strapped, it's just not within their purview at this point. So we've set it up as a subset of Carmel Cares, and it's going to be called Keep Carmel Beautiful, with its own advisory board. It'll include somebody from waste management, somebody from our waste management company,
This is
and so
great.
on. And they have a national advertising campaign. They have training. We're going to do a litter survey. So they're teaching us how to be a process-oriented organization that can handle and deal with all the things involved in making it completely litter-free. So we're going to look like Aspen, cities that spend a lot of money. We don't have a lot of money, so we've got to figure out how to do it ourselves with our business. We just joined the Chamber of Commerce. So we're going to be working in a holistic way to make everybody in town change their attitude. Part of the solution is just believing that it's already been done.
Yes.
In all of our eyes, it's already litter free. There might be some litter on the ground right now, but we see what it's going to look like because we do it once in a while. Like Scenic Pathway is perfect now, all the time. We have people walking there all the time picking up trash. And now that it's so clean, when you have a piece of trash, you go, it's an intentional act, right? And if you have a piece of trash and there's a trash can a block away, you have a choice to either throw it on the ground here or carry it to the trash can. When everything is perfect, you're much less likely to throw that trash in the ground. And that's the attitude we have to instill in everybody, all the businesses, all the visitors, all the locals. And once we do that, a year from now, our town is going to be litter free. And part of it is just saying that enough times that it becomes true.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Carmel by the Sea is such a beautiful place. I've been there a couple of times. And some of my friends, I think, have gone to the concourse there.
Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful, beautiful place. And what you're doing, Dale, is an example of how nonprofits can work with government, really. I mean, they're both, tax deductible means the government's involved in giving tax deductible, they get to take that off their taxes and that kind of thing. So if the government's coming in on that side to help people with the nonprofit, then coming in the other side is what government does.
Yes.
Places like yours then doesn't have enough money to give to the government.
Right. And donations is another side of this, obviously. We've had some people in town that have been very generous. Clearly I've made significant investments. The Carmel Gives organization, which is funded by some realtors in town, and they put a percentage of their sales in there. And it's been a good year for that. But also the people that live on Scenic, those houses used to be $6 million and up, and now they're probably 8 to 10 million. One of our donors just sold his house for $15.5 million. And so those people obviously were cleaning up their front yard, right? So they have a vested interest, but they also believe in what we're doing. They see us, they see how passionate we are, and they get caught up in it. And they know that we're building a company that's going to be here long after we're dead. So they want it to be successful. And we basically told them it's going to cost us $25,000 a year to hire the gardeners that we use every week, 52 weeks a year, just to pay them. And so, we would love it if you frontline people would help fund that, and they have. But
well, I think the question might arise in some viewer's mind, with that kind of upscale community and upscale property and all, why doesn't the city have enough money?
It's interesting.
Naive,
obviously the most asked question when we're out doing our thing, and we're out there a lot. I mean, I'm out 5-6 hours a day, every day. The first question is, hey, I pay my taxes. The people on Scenic, some of them are paying $80,000 a year in taxes, right? So I pay my taxes. Well, first of all, only a percentage of that goes to the city, right? So of that, maybe 20% filters down to the city, if that.
Oh, okay.
So, and then within that, that has to be spread through a number of programs like paving the streets and so on. It's expensive to keep a city like this going. And that's a very transparent process, so you can see what it is. But my answer to that question is, you know what? That's not my job.
Right.
All I know is it wasn't getting done. And I believe that our politicians, I believe that our city council people are people just like me. They want to do the best possible thing for this town.
Right.
And there are just a lot of ways that that money gets spread. And I think they're probably doing the best job they can. And our public workers are doing the best job that they can.
Absolutely.
And I have to trust that that's the case. And since that is the case, we have to figure out how we can do the things that aren't getting done, whatever they are. And if there's something that needs to be done, we do it. And I'll worry about later how to do it more efficiently.
Sure.
And we have done that, but we bought a set of Milwaukee power tools, electric power tools, for the 5 trucks that go out and do maintenance work. They didn't have them. They now have a full complement. They're probably $800, $900 per set. We bought the power tools for the city people, so they're properly armed when they go out. They don't have to share tools anymore. We bought a John Deere water vehicle with a 100-gallon water tank. The city has a free water supply. Fire hose pressure, 25,000-gallon cistern, unlimited amounts of water down by the beach. So now we have a vehicle with a 100-gallon water tank that you can fill in 50 seconds to go water plants that need to be watered. The city's using that. So, if we see something that needs to be done, we could question it. We could go to the city council. We could beg for them to do something for the next year, but we'd rather just do it. And that's what we do. And that positive attitude will eventually change attitudes and change the way that things are done. But that's for another day. Right now, we just have to get our work done.
Well, Dale, it's been such a blessing to have you on our show. And let me ask you, if someone wants to donate to the organization, how they might do that.
Probably the easiest way right now is, we have all different ways. The best way is to send a check to our mailing address. But if you go to carmelcares.org, just like it sounds, /help. And it sort of shows all of our projects, our programs in shorthand. And then right at the bottom of that, if you scroll down, it has the ways that you can make donations, and including Venmo, PayPal. We're starting to do GoFundMe charity pages. I just put one up for the Carmel Valley CERT team to raise money to buy a storage trailer. And that's going to be a fun thing. I've got it set up now, and we haven't done one yet. We've been too busy, but that's the first one. And it's great because any of our constituents can dream up a project, and it takes me less than 5 minutes to put a GoFundMe page, and then they send it out to all their friends. And
wow.
I think it's going to be pretty cool. Yeah.
You are so excited about this, and I share your excitement, Dale. You are so excited about it. You could probably talk for another 2 hours, but our time has come to an end. And I want to repeat, carmelcares.org/help for people that want to donate. And do you have any final thoughts or anything?
I do. I haven't mentioned the word community engagement yet. And that what we really are is one big community engagement project. You hear it a lot, but a lot of times it's not really happening. We've got our Median Minder program. If you go on our website, I've got way too much content. You could read for hours. But the Median Minder program, where people can adopt a little median island in town, and we have 120 of them that I've found. They're more popping up all the time. So neighbors can adopt a part of their neighborhood, and they become responsible for maintaining it. And it's pretty cool. Some of them look like little Rose Parade floats now. They're decorating them and planting plants. And we're going to end up having 100 people doing that. And I get letters. We just got 3 new ones today. My project manager said, read these emails, and people go, thank you so much for doing this. This is like, we've always wanted to do this. We just didn't know how. And the city's very excited about that program, because we're going to maintain acres of little, if you add it all up, it's a lot of ground that's being maintained. People are growing trees. People are growing little trees, and we're going to plant them in the forest in a couple of years, all kinds of things like that.
That's great. I think you're such an inspiration, Dale, that people viewing this video are just going to be inspired and maybe think of what they could do with a nonprofit.
Go
Because
do
the
it.
world certainly needs a lot of help.
Go do it, but just prepared to get hit on the side of the head once in a while and get up. It's like a
Right.
boxing match. Just get up and just keep going, because
Right.
the next day you'll forget all about it ever happening.
Right. Well, thanks again, Dale, for being on our Getting to Know You program. And to our viewers, thank you for getting to know you. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and connect with us on LinkedIn. And Dale, thank you again. And that is